Hey everyone, I'm doing a bit different video today. As any of you who are subscribers to my channel or who have watched my other videos know, my videos generally focus specifically on game development for the ZX Spectrum Next computer and Sinclair Spectrum computers. And I was debating whether or not I should actually make this video because, like I said, it has nothing to do with Sinclair Spectrum game development or ZX Spectrum Next, although it kind of does because it's related to retro computing in a way. And as you can tell by the title of my video, I'm going to be talking about the Intellivision Amico, or specifically the physical products that were recently released by Intellivision. Now some people call them games, some people call them physical products because there's no actual game contained within the boxes. It doesn't really matter to me because really there is no such thing as a physical game if you think about it. Games are merely data that exist in the form of bits, and those bits could be on different types of media. So there are different types of physical media, which could be a memory card, it could be a disk, it could be a cartridge with a chip inside that has the data encoded onto the chip or the disk, what have you, but there is no actual physical game per se. The game exists as data. So the whole discussion of whether a physical game or not is included with these physical products released by Intellivision, I guess that's up for debate, but it doesn't really matter all that much to me because, as you can probably tell, I'm somewhat of a collector and I collect various things that are of interest to me. So these physical Intellivision Amico products are obviously released for collectors, because if you just wanted to purchase the game in order to play the game, obviously you're going to wait until the console comes out and the game is actually released, and then you can download it and play it. So the only reason really to buy these physical products is because you want to have them in your hands, you want to maybe put them in your collection, you want to have something physical that you can actually touch, which is why I would say that they're best suited for collectors. And when I refer to myself as a collector, I don't mean I'm collecting items hoping that they'll go up in value, because that would really be investing, and I don't consider myself an investor, but a collector. A collector means I like to own things that I enjoy having, just to have them in my possession. For example, I have games, such as here I have some Sinclair games for the ZX81. This one is Metamorphosis. This one is Virus. This one is Pandemic. And none of these games can I actually play because they all require a tape deck and a physical computer to play them on. Although I do own a ZX Spectrum Next computer which can play these games, I'm not going to buy a tape deck in order to play these games on cassettes. I'm obviously going to just download them. But it's still nice to have these physical games in my hand. And when I say physical games, I'm really talking about the case, because some of these are shrink wrapped, like this one, Metamorphosis. I'm never going to open Metamorphosis and shove it into a tape deck and play it, right? Why would I? And some of these other games are not sealed, like this one, Virus, for example. I can actually open it up and take a look at the cassette, which looks pretty cool. It's got a nice green color to it. And I could look at the insert if I wanted to and read the instructions on the insert. But again, I'm not actually going to be playing this actual physical game, so it really doesn't matter to me if the game is on this tape or not, because I'm never going to put it in a tape deck to test it out. I'm only collecting these because I want the cases, obviously. And the same holds true for these other games that I collect. For example, I also have some Atari 2600 games, like these two for example, and some of them are open. Like Beanie Bopper here, I can open it up and take a look at the manual, and I can look at the cartridge if I want to. Whereas Pac-Man, for example, is still sealed in its shrink wrap. So I'm never going to be cutting the shrink wrap off this thing just to take a look at the cartridge that's inside the box. Now I do collect some other things. For example, here I have some games that were made for the ZX Spectrum Next, which is the focus of my attention these days. I'm obviously learning to develop games for the ZX Spectrum Next, and here we have some games that were already developed for that computer. Quadrun, for example. I have no idea what this game is about, and it is actually developed for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum 48K, so this one isn't even for the Next. This one is on a cassette, which has a really cool sparkly green cassette. So this one is kind of neat to own, and the reason I bought this one is specifically because it comes in this cool looking case. And these other games here, these are for the Spectrum Next. This one is Kua Dragon, and there are some other ones here, QB, Grelox, Contagion, Warhawk, and so forth. So anyone in the ZX Spectrum Next community is well familiar with these games. And I have tried some of them, but again, when I play these games, I wouldn't have to necessarily play them by buying the physical version of the game. I could download the games and play them that way as well. But again, it's nice to have a physical box in your hand to look at and see the graphics. It's kind of cool. As well as I have some other things in my collection, such as these games, which are from Zosia. These ones are again for the Sinclair 48K Spectrum, and these ones are neat to have because they come with all kinds of cool stuff. Like this one, for example, the Dark. First of all, it comes in this cool box, which has a window on the back, and you can see the contents of the box through the window. And this one comes with the cassette tape, as well as it comes with a really cool, well, it comes with a CD as well in a neat looking envelope, as well as it comes with this really cool booklet, which if you open it up, you can see each page is colored individually. It's got a nice felt cover to it, and it's got these really nice graphics inside as well. So obviously this is a collector's item that I would want to have in my collection in order to have these physical items that come along with it. And again, if I wanted to just play the games, I would download the games and play them that way, because I can't actually play these games on cassette because I don't have a cassette player. And then I also collect some things like books, for example. And why would I collect these books? I'm not collecting these obviously because they're going to go up in value. You can order these off Amazon anytime you want. They're not going up in value. And I'm not collecting these to read them because I have the digital version of this book, which I read first, and I enjoyed the digital version so much that I decided to buy the actual book. So I bought this book, which is the paperback version of the book, but what I didn't realize when I purchased it was that the graphics and the pictures inside the book are all in black and white. So all these pictures inside the book are in black and white as compared to the digital version of this book. For the Kindle, it's in color. But I found out that the hardcover version of the book does have color photos in it. So I wanted to have a physical version of this book with full color photos in it, because it's obviously a lot cooler to look at full color photos than it is to look at black and white ones. But I have read the digital version of this book, although I'm not going to probably reread the physical versions, but maybe I will, and they're cool to have, and it's nice to see those full color pictures in a physical book. I have some other books here. This one is about the Oliver twins who make games for the Sinclair Spectrum computers. This one is still shrink wrapped, and I may open it, I may not. If I have time to read it one day and I want to read it, then I guess I'll open it, but it's not urgent that I open it right now. I do have some other books that are not shrink wrapped, such as this one, The Boy Who Thought Outside the Box, which is actually a children's book about the inventor of the Pong video game, Ralph Baer. So he invented the game system that became the Magnavox Odyssey, and it looks like that, if you can see that. But this is a children's book that it doesn't really provide a ton of information about how he actually developed the system, but it's a large picture book for children. But it's kind of cool to have in my collection. And I have some hardware as well. This Timex Sinclair 1000, for example, that's still in the packaging. Obviously, I'm not going to be opening this either. Which brings me to the subject of my video, which is the Intellivision Amico physical products. Now, if you're watching this video in order to get a detailed look at these products, you're going to be disappointed because my products, as you can see, are still in their packaging. So these are my physical Intellivision Amico games, or physical products, as you can see. And these haven't even been out of the bubble wrap. And the reason they haven't been out of the bubble wrap is because for me, there's really no reason to take them out of the bubble wrap just yet, because like I said, I'm a collector, so I'm collecting these things. I don't need to open them to see what's inside. I've watched people's YouTube videos to see what's inside. And they contain a couple of interesting things, a lenticular card with a little 3D holographic image on there, and the coin. Those are kind of neat. But as a collector, I'm not going to cut open the shrink wrap on these in order to see those things, because I prefer to keep them in their original state. Although I'm not sure why, because like I said, I'm never going to be selling these games. I'm not buying them as an investment. I just want them in my collection. Probably I will take them out of the bubble wrap at some point, but I don't really need to look at them in detail because I've seen the videos of them. Just like I'm never going to be taking that Timex Sinclair 1000 out of its shrink wrap either, because I've seen an actual Timex Sinclair 1000 in person. Well, I have one right here. My original Timex Sinclair 1000 that I had when I was a teenager. So I'm well familiar with the Timex Sinclair 1000. And the point of this video is that there are people who collect these things as collectors. So I don't really see the point as to having a debate regarding these physical products from the Intellivision Amico, because it really depends why you decided to purchase them. People who decide to purchase them in their physical form probably aren't purchasing them strictly to be able to play them once the games come out, because they could download them, which is what they're going to be doing even if they own the physical version of the game. So I guess the point of this video is it's really up to each person to decide for themselves what is of value to them and why they want to own something. For me, these physical products are worth having in my collection because, as I said, I'm a collector, and these are, for better or for worse, a part of retro gaming history. For sure a part of gaming history, possibly an infamous part of that history, who knows, but they're definitely a unique product to have, and that's why they've made their way into my collection. There aren't many products that are in my collection. I only collect things for a couple different platforms, like some Sinclair products and Atari 2600 games. So for me, it's not a big deal whether or not these packages contain a physical media that has a game on it or not. I think the more important thing here is to remember that the retro gaming community is supposed to be a positive place for people to share their combined passion for retro video games, or in this case, modern video games that have a tie to retro video games. And I think we should just all keep that in mind and let people make their own decisions as to what they want to buy and whether or not they like it. And the packaging on these, for example, even though people have complained about it, saying that they're smaller than they expected and they seem flimsier than they expected, actually I had the opposite opinion. Although, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the Intellivision Amico because I don't plan to buy the console, because I really don't play video games that much. I prefer to spend my time learning how to develop video games, and I just don't think that I would really spend the time to invest in playing these games or other games that come out for the Amico. That might change, and if it does, I can just buy a console later on down the road. But I was actually, for myself, kind of impressed with these little things because I prefer the small size of these game boxes. I think they're really cute, and I actually think the build quality is kind of nice with the hard plastic insert inside there. Plus you get those extra little bonuses of the lenticular card and the coin if you like that kind of thing. So for me, I'm strictly collecting it as part of gaming history, not expecting them to go up in value and not expecting there to be a physical media inside these boxes, because obviously the Amico doesn't even take physical cartridges. So my apologies if you were expecting to see me rip open these games and show you the insides on this video. I'm not going to do that, and probably the insides of these games will never see the light of day, at least probably not in my lifetime. So hopefully you enjoyed me sharing my opinion with you, and I just hope we can all continue to enjoy the retro gaming community and be a positive part of that and continue to enjoy this wonderful hobby. So thanks for watching, and to my regular subscribers, don't worry, in my next video I'll be heading back to the ZX Spectrum and we'll be resuming programming as usual. So that's all for now, and thanks for watching.